Hi, it's the Stoic Softie here, bringing you more soft skills for a better life and work. So, idea number one is affective style. Everybody has a different affective style. What this means is your happiness set point. So when we're born, we're predisposed to either be happier or less happy. While this is quite deterministic, it's good to acknowledge because then we can look at the things that actually do change our affective style and do change our level of happiness. The things that impact our affective style are as follows. Meditation. Meditation can improve our overall happiness level. If you don't know how to do meditation yet, I'll put some links in the description below on some descriptions of meditations that you can do. Meditation is fantastic for you. It's shown in research over several months of regularly meditating, the amount of negative and fearful thoughts that we have will reduce. It's really good for you. I do 20 minutes of meditation every day, and I can tell you that it makes a huge difference in my life and the way that I see the world. So I highly recommend it. Meditation is shown to improve your happiness level. So the other way you can change your happiness level, your affective style, is through cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT. Cognitive behavioural therapy is like changing our thinking. A depressed mindset is one that has distorted negative views about the world, which then causes in turn negative feelings, and then more negative thoughts, more negative feelings, and it's just like a cycle. Cognitive behavioural therapy makes us question those negative thoughts. So a negative thought pops up, we write it down, and then we question it to see how accurate it actually is. By questioning thoughts in these ways and finding a way to think more effectively, it does actually change our thinking, and it does actually make people happier as well. So cognitive behavioural therapy does work, learning to change our thinking. The other way to change our affective style is through Prozac. So this drug actually does make people happier over time. In the book, Jonathan Haidt describes his experiences with it. He adjusts to it over a while, he's nauseous, he feels dizzy, but then after a few months he just feels happier, the dizziness goes away. There's one critical side effect for him though, and that is that he can't remember students' names anymore, and because he is a professor, this was incredibly difficult for him. So he stopped taking it for that reason. Also, there's a moral issue about Prozac because it's shown to change people's personalities. They become positive and more happy, but they also lose some of their idiosyncrasies, some of their neuroses, which could be argued to be part of their personality. Also, it goes against our idea of working towards something. We like the idea of working towards an outcome to become happier, whereas if we can just take a pill to solve the problem, it almost seems too easy. So that is another moral issue about Prozac. So those are the three ways that you can influence your affective style. So number one is affective style. Idea number two is the elephant and the rider. I thought this was a really cool metaphor that we found in the happiness hypothesis, and it's just another way of thinking of ourselves. So the rider is like our conscious mind that makes all the decisions, and the elephant is like our body, is the more visceral, animalistic, primal part of ourselves. So we can tell that the elephant has greater control over the rider when we decide that we want to do something, but then we don't stick to it, we don't carry on doing it. Why is this? It's because the elephant hasn't agreed with us that we want to do that as well. The only way that we can convince the elephant that it wants to do something is by conditioning it, a little bit like you would train a dog. So if we get the elephant to associate huge pleasure to doing whatever activity it is that we want to start doing, we're going to be more inclined to start doing it, and we're going to pick up that habit more easily. So for example, if we start associating massive pleasure to going out and running and exercising, then we're naturally just going to be inclined to just get out there and start doing it. We're just going to feel like we want to do it. If our elephant hasn't been taught that, we're always going to have to leverage ourselves to get out there and do it. And over time, we just won't be able to keep it up because, as you can imagine, the elephant is much stronger than the rider. And this is a fantastic metaphor for understanding ourselves. Jonathan Haidt describes it that we need to be a skillful rider of the elephant. We need to learn to manage that elephant more effectively. So that's idea number 2, is the elephant and the rider. Idea number 3 is positive relationships. One of the biggest factors in people's happiness is having positive relationships. People who are married or in long-term relationships are happier than those who aren't. People who go out and socialize often are happier than people that don't. People who are extrovert are happier than people who are introvert. And when introverts are pushed to be more extrovert, they feel happier as well. So if you're quite a shy person, you don't socialize as often as you could, then force yourself to go out and see people more often. It will make you happier. So focus more on developing positive relationships. Number 4 is flow state. What is flow state? It's when we're challenged by an activity, but we also can meet the challenges as well. When we're in flow state, we find time completely disappears. We feel gratified by what we're doing. Often it's something that we're quite skillful at, and we find it very fulfilling to do that activity. By creating flow in our daily work and our daily life, we will become happier. If you have a particular activity that you love doing, the time just disappears when you're doing that thing. Maybe this could be an indicator of what you're meant to be doing. Another way of finding flow is by building it into your work. So if you do a job, find a way of getting flow state in there. And if you have hobbies where you enter flow state, allow yourself time to do those things because you'll be happier for it. So number 4 is flow state. Number 5 is enjoy the journey. Even though it's a cliche to say it, it is true. Research has shown that the main enjoyment that we get, the main gratification that we get from pursuing any goal is in the journey towards that goal. When we attain the goal, the satisfaction is minimal compared to what we gain in the journey. I think this is massively important to remember because we can get hung up on reaching our final destination. But if we remind ourselves that even when we get there, it's not necessarily going to make us feel any happier. It's the way that we go about approaching that goal that's so important. This is really important to remember because it's going to stop us from getting too hung up on the results. So number 5 is enjoy the journey. Number 6 is adaptation. This means that we quickly adapt to anything in our environment. If there's a positive change or a negative change, our happiness set point returns to the same level. There's a fascinating study done with lottery winners. When someone wins the lottery, we expect that they'll be really happy, and they often too expect that this change in their environment will make them happier. However, if you follow up with them a few months later, it turns out that their happiness level is pretty much the same as it was. This is the same for people who are in horrible accidents and end up being a quadriplegic. This is a difficult thing for anyone to imagine happening to them, and we might expect that we are much less happy after this has happened. However, amazingly, after a few months, the happiness set point has returned to the same level. So if something bad happens to us or something good happens to us that changes our environment, our circumstances, it doesn't really impact our affective style, our level of happiness, as much as we might expect it to. That being said, there are certain circumstantial factors that do impact our happiness over a long period of time, and if we are to change them, we will become happier. These things are things such as a long commute to work. If you're driving up to an hour in traffic every day, that's going to affect your happiness. By getting rid of that commute, you will become a happier person. Uncontrollable noise in your environment is also going to affect your happiness. If there's continuous noise that you can't control, then it's going to make you feel less happy. Also, one thing that devastates happiness is interpersonal conflicts. If there's someone you're having difficulty with at work or at home, this challenge is really going to affect your happiness. And by resolving that challenge or changing it in some way, you are going to feel happier as a result of making that change. Okay, that's it from me today. Those are my slick 6 ideas from the Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, click subscribe because I will be uploading more videos in the future. Let me know what you thought. I've put information in the description below, so there's notes below, there's links below. Have a look down there and hopefully you'll find something useful to go along with this video. Right, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.